We all have these core beliefs, right? The things that feel just fundamentally true about ourselves or the world.
Absolutely, like bedrock truths.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's, I'm a competent person, or my view on this is the right one. They give us stability, which is good.
It is good to a point.
But what if that very stability, that clinging, is actually, well, limiting us? Like a cage we don't see.
That's precisely what we're digging into today, this fascinating idea that holding one belief really strongly forces your mind to sort of push away its direct opposite.
Okay, so let's define belief here. It's not just a passing thought, is it?
No, not at all. A belief is deeper. It's a thought that you've invested with certainty, absolute certainty. And, that certainty feels grounding, helps us navigate.
Gives you your bearings in a, well, often chaotic world.
Exactly. But there's a hidden cost. That stability comes from narrowing your focus, filtering out anything that contradicts the certainty.
Right, which brings us to this idea of mental polarity. Could you unpack that a bit?
Think of any strong belief you hold. Let's say, I am a generous person. The moment you state that, you inherently create its opposite pole, I am stingy, or I am selfish.
They come as a pair, even if you only focus on one.
Precisely. You can't have north without south. But the mind desperately tries to live only at the North Pole, the good side, the one you identify with.
And it does that by filtering.
Constantly filtering. It actively ignores, downplays, or dismisses evidence of the South Pole within you or in the world. And this isn't just for big life philosophies. It happens with tiny, everyday self-perceptions, too.
I like the magnet idea you mentioned before. We grab onto the pole we like success, maybe, or control. And by gripping it so hard, we're actively using energy to push away the other end failure, or maybe letting go. But that other end...
Yeah.
It's still part of the magnet, right? It doesn't vanish.
It never vanishes. And the mechanism driving this is, well, it's a cornerstone of psychology, cognitive dissonance reduction.
Ah, okay. I've heard of that. It's about discomfort, isn't it?
Exactly. The mind craves internal consistency. If you hold a core belief like, I'm a fair person, and then you do something that feels unfair, even slightly, boom, dissonance. It feels bad, like a mental alarm bell.
So rather than thinking, maybe I wasn't fair there, the mind does what?
It performs these incredible mental gymnastics, usually unconsciously, to reduce that uncomfortable feeling. It might rationalize, well, they deserved it, or minimize, it wasn't a big deal.
Or just conveniently forget it happened.
Or forget it. Anything to restore that feeling of coherence, to protect the core belief, I am a fair person.
Okay, that makes sense for those internal conflicts. But how does this filtering show up in how we see the world, like day to day?
Let's take a common example from the sources. Someone holds the firm belief. People fundamentally can't be trusted.
Okay, the classic cynic.
Right. Now, their attention system becomes highly attuned to any sign of betrayal, a missed call, suspicious, a slightly ambiguous comment, proof of dishonesty.
They're looking for it.
They're actively scanning for it. And the consequence is they unconsciously filter out all the instances of loyalty, kindness, generosity that are also happening around them, because those things create dissonance with their core belief.
Wow. So they're kind of co-creating that untrustworthy world through selective attention. That's quite sobering.
It really is. Or think about internal stories. The person who believes, I must always be strong, always in control.
Perfectionist, maybe?
Yeah.
Or the stoic type.
Could be either. They've effectively suppressed the opposite pole: vulnerability, uncertainty, the need for help. Admitting doubt feels like a failure. Asking for help feels weak. So they push it down.
And the mind reinforces that pushing down constantly.
Relentlessly. And on the flip side, someone stuck in the belief, I am unworthy or I'm not good enough, their suppression mechanism targets their own value.
Oh, so?
They'll downplay compliments, find flaws in their successes, attribute achievements to luck rather than skill. They actively filter out evidence of their own worth because it clashes with that core feeling of unworthiness.
So in every case, it's like we're seeing only half the picture, or less, because we're clinging so tightly to one piece.
Exactly. We're fragmenting reality to maintain a sense of certainty.
Okay, this leads us to the really crucial question. So what? What's the actual cost of all this mental energy spent pushing away the other half? Does it, like, show up physically?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the most profound points. That suppressed energy has to go somewhere. If you're constantly suppressing vulnerability to maintain that I'm strong belief,
where does the vulnerability go?
It often gets channeled into the body. It can manifest as chronic anxiety, unexplained muscle tension, headaches, digestive issues, even over the long term, contributing to more serious health problems.
So the body literally starts carrying the emotional weight the mind refuses to acknowledge.
That's a perfect way to put it. The body expresses what the conscious mind denies. Maintaining that rigid certainty is physically exhausting and depleting.
That insight about the body, that really lands. It makes you think about how much energy we might be wasting just holding these rigid positions.
An incredible amount. And the interpersonal costs are just as high. Remember the person suppressing their own value, the I am unworthy belief.
Yes.
How does that repressed sense of worth often show up? It can easily curdle into envy or harsh judgment of others who do seem confident or successful.
So they attack in others what they deny in themselves.
Precisely. They see their own disowned strength or value reflected externally, and it triggers pain or resentment. It poisons relationships.
And in direct conflict, say a couple arguing about parenting. One parent insists on strict rules and discipline, the other on freedom and flexibility.
That conflict can feel intractable, right? Endless. Because often they're not just arguing about the child, they're each battling their own internal suppressed polarity projected onto the other person.
So the strict parent might be fighting their own fear of chaos, which they see in the other's leniency.
Exactly. And the lenient parent might be fighting their own fear of stifling control, which they see in the strict one. They're essentially externalizing their internal war. Each is fighting the aspect of themselves they've pushed away.
Wow. It's like every argument is potentially a shadow dance. Okay, so if this polarity dynamic, this clinging to certainty is the root of the problem, how do we get out?
Yeah.
What's the path forward according to these sources?
Well, the sources talk about awakening in this context, but not in some mystical sense. It's very practical. It simply means seeing through the illusion that any single belief can capture the whole truth.
So recognizing that every belief is inherently partial.
Partial, conditioned, relative. It's a useful tool for navigating, like a map, but it's not the territory itself. Reality is always bigger and more complex than any one idea about it.
So the goal isn't to find a better belief to cling to.
No, not at all. The aim is something called non-dual awareness. It sounds fancy, but it just means developing a wider perspective, one that can hold both sides of a polarity at the same time without needing to choose one or collapse the tension.
Holding the opposites, like I am strong and I am vulnerable.
Exactly. Seeing them not as contradictions to be resolved, but as coexisting truths.
That sounds hard, especially when a belief feels so incredibly real and necessary. How do you even start practicing that?
It starts small, with simple awareness and inquiry. The moment you feel that rush of absolute certainty, that feeling of, I am right or this is bad, you just pause.
Hit the mental pause button. Don't react immediately.
Right. And in that pause, you ask, what is the exact opposite of this belief I'm holding so tightly? And then, crucially, how might that opposite also be true, even in a small way, in my experience?
So if I'm convinced, I always mess things up.
You'd ask, what's the opposite? I sometimes get things right, or I have succeeded before. Then you actively look for tiny bits of evidence for that opposite truth. Even one small example starts to loosen the grip of the original absolute belief.
It's like introducing a little bit of doubt into the certainty machine. Okay, what's the next step after awareness?
It's a practice the sources call paradox awareness practice. This is where you consciously, deliberately hold both opposing ideas in your mind simultaneously.
Without trying to make them fit together.
Without trying to resolve them at all, you just let them both be there. For the person obsessed with control, it's holding. I can influence some things, and much of life is fundamentally uncertain and beyond my control.
Acknowledging both realities at once.
Yes. For the person terrified of criticism, it's okay to want approval, and my worth isn't actually dependent on what others think. You feel the tension, the paradox, and you just allow it.
You're basically training your mind to tolerate contradiction, which it naturally hates because of cognitive dissonance.
You're retraining it, exactly. You're showing it that reality is paradoxical, and that's okay. It's not a threat. And when you do that consistently, the need to cling desperately to one pole starts to fade.
Let's make this concrete with some big ones. Success versus failure. We cling to success, right? What's the cost?
We suppress the reality and the value of failure. We live in fear of it. But if you practice holding the paradox, success is wonderful and failure is an unavoidable, even useful part of learning and striving, the fear loses its power. You become more resilient.
Okay, and the other huge one, control versus letting go.
Maybe the biggest source of anxiety for many. The constant need for control means suppressing our ability to accept uncertainty, to trust the flow of life.
So the paradox practice here is,
I can plan and act responsibly, and I must ultimately surrender to the fact that I don't control everything. Holding both truths reduces that frantic need to manage every single detail. There's a profound peace in that acceptance.
so when you start doing this, when you loosen the grip on these fixed beliefs and stop fighting the other side all the time, what does that feel like? What's the freedom?
It feels like spaciousness, flexibility, openness. You're not constantly judging yourself or others against these rigid, one-sided standards.
Left good versus bad, right versus wrong.
Much less. You start seeing the nuance, the complexity, the both hand in yourself and in others. That internal battle quiets down because you're not constantly at war with half of reality. There's more compassion.
It sounds like moving from a black and white photo to seeing the world in full, vibrant color.
That's a great analogy. Reality is described in these sources as inherently spacious, fluid, and whole. It contains all the polarities. Our beliefs are useful tools, like temporary structures we build to help us function.
But they're not the whole building.
They're not the whole building, and they certainly aren't the landscape itself. They stop being prisons the moment we remember. They're just tools, not ultimate truth.
This has been incredibly clarifying. So the core takeaway really is, our beliefs trap us only when we treat them as absolute, unchanging truths. The way out, the path to feeling more whole, involves consciously turning towards and even embracing those opposites we've pushed away.
Beautifully put. And maybe to leave you with something practical to reflect on, think about that core tension we discussed. Control versus acceptance. Ask yourself honestly, where in your daily life are you most fiercely defending one particular belief, one way of being? And what hidden opposite, maybe some vulnerability, some uncertainty, some perceived failure, are you simultaneously exhausting yourself trying to keep at bay? Because right there, in that tension, that's likely where your next opportunity for real growth and freedom is waiting.